Good morning, everyone. Glad to see all of you. Welcome to the Windward Buddhist Temple family. My name is Annette Tashur, and I'll be your MC this morning. We'll begin with the ringing of the temple bell, or kansho. It signifies the beginning of a temple service. It is a deep and sacred ritual steeped in ancient tradition. It is the calling of the people to come together to listen to the Dharma or teachings. The temple bell represents the gratitude and deep appreciation of the members, friends, guests of the Windward Buddhist Temple. Please sit quietly in your seat while the bell is being rung. Please rise for the meditation, followed by the chanting of the Vandana Ti-Sarana by the congregation in Pali and English. If there are any new people here, you can find the Vandana Ti-Sarana on page 165 in the brown book. Please be seated. Please turn to page 54 of the Reg Jodo Shinshu service book for the Sutra Juseige.
Kuyo isaibu 具足修読本元年心上満徳意三愛よ女仏無下地津断理不詳願学へ力投資最小尊志願や国家大成功感動国書天理統治妙見ナマナムナマナムナマナムナマナムナ
Please rise and turn to page 126 in the same Jodo Shinshu service book for the recitation of Golden Chain of Love. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only on my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace.
Namo
Amida Butsu. Namo. Please continue standing for the Gatha. Listen to his voice, found on page 92 in the brown book, Praises of the Buddha's Book. Thank you. Please be seated. We will now have the Dharma talk by none other than our Reverend Dr. Bert Sumikawa. Please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's good to see all of you again. There's so many of you today. I'm happy to see so many people each time I come here. Well, you know, I'm glad that the Windward Buddhist Temple is getting into the holiday spirit at last by decorating a Christmas tree? Bodhi tree. Bodhi tree out in the hall next door. It was not too long ago that you will never find a Christmas tree in a Buddhist temple or in some ministers' homes as well. And, you know, I used to feel sorry for some of the ministers' children who, you know, during the day, everybody's talking about Christmas and this and that, and they go home and there's nothing there. So, but now I think things have changed a lot, and then they do have Christmas trees in their homes, I think. They have the mistaken idea of what a Christmas tree is about, you know. You know, actually it came from Germany, right? So, you know, the last time I was here to give a Dharma message, I started my talk joking about why we have 2 rice offerings on the altar. And what I said was that it's because the Buddha gets so hungry trying to help us get rid of our 3 poisons. But actually, the reason is that it's a symbol of what we call jiri rita, or the meaning of that is the pair of rice offerings is to symbolize the Jodo Shinshu concept of perfect integration or completion of self-benefit and benefiting others. That's what the 2 offerings of rice stands for. So benefiting yourself and others as well. So anyway, I thought I'd better explain that. So let's put our hands together in reverence as I read these words. I reflect within myself the universal vow difficult to fathom is indeed a great vessel bearing us across the ocean, difficult to cross. The unhindered light is the sun of wisdom, dispersing the darkness of our ignorance. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. So don't we often wish that we could somehow choose how to manage our time? Or if we could choose how much time we can extend, like when we're having fun. Years ago when I was a kid back at Kailua Intermediate School, a long time ago, but the school is still here. Back then, my favorite subject was PE. So every day that we had PE, as I walked to school, I would look up at the sky to check out if there were any threatening clouds or where the sun was rising. Either it was behind the clouds or was it going to be a bright and sunny day? If it looked as though it was not going to rain, then that meant that we could go outside and play. So we had 3 homerooms at that time. So we had 1 team from each of the homerooms that would play each other during PE. But so it was disappointing that it only lasted for 45 minutes. Just like the rest of the classes, I guess. But by the time we got to the class, it took roll call and stuff, and went out to play. We were only about 40 minutes left. So I wish that it could be extended for another 40 minutes or even longer. I wish we could control time for another 30 minutes. I think the young people understand what I'm talking about, right? Don't tell me that your favorite subject is not PE. On the other hand, if you went to the dentist and they started to do what they usually do, zzz, and all kinds of uncomfortable things in your mouth, and having them ask you questions like, hey, did you see the movie last night? How are you going to answer, right? But it's only lasts for a couple of minutes. You wish you could speed time up if you had a choice, but you really don't have that choice either. And by the way, a long time ago, after I did a memorial service, someone I knew who was there told me, I know why you became a minister. Curious to find out why. I said, why? I thought something profound was going to come, And he said, well, you have to do penance for all the pain you caused. Then and there I felt like Rodney Dangerfield. You remember Rodney? The man with no respect, right? Buddhism teaches us that there are so many things in our life that we don't get to choose. Some of the most impactful things in our lives are left completely up to chance. For example, you don't get to choose your ethnicity, or you don't get to choose what gender you're going to be born to, or you don't get to choose how tall you're going to grow, and you don't get to choose your parents, right? When I was growing up, I wish I had the choice sometimes. Imagine what impact your parents or grandparents had in shaping your lives, or your caretakers, or whoever raised you or nurtured you. You don't get a chance to choose them. And really, most of them really didn't get a chance to choose you. But there's so many things that we can choose. You can choose what you want to wear. You can choose what you want to eat at a restaurant. Or you can choose what TV program you want to watch. Maybe. And you can choose what radio station you want to listen to, or what music you want to hear on your device. More importantly, you can choose how you want to act, within limits, of course. Wherever you are, and you can choose what you want to say, but the most important and most valuable thing that you're able to choose, and I think about this a bit because it's really important. The one thing that you can choose, no matter what it is, what's happening in your life, is how you choose to view the world. How you view the world. This is the most powerful thing in your life that we get to choose. And this is what we are talking about when we talk about the Eightfold Path, about the right view in particular. The right view is how we view the world. Chances are, as we approach something with a negative viewpoint, there is a high chance of having a negative experience, right? But if you come in with a positive attitude, now with that positive viewpoint, then it will more than likely lead to a more positive experience. And although we know that simply changing a view cannot guarantee an outcome, well, having a positive view will potentially help us in the long run, I think. There was a motivational speaker by the name of Sean Stevenson, and said, and I quote, "Never believe in a prediction that doesn't empower you. Never believe in a prediction that doesn't empower you." Is that about your view? About believing in how your outcome is going to be? If someone gets down on you, and says, well, it's never going to work. We've never done it like this before. I'm sure we've all heard this. Nobody wants it. Nobody will like it. So don't try it. Or some other discouraging viewpoint. But the viewpoint is what drives you every day. So it's essential that your viewpoint is clear and true, and that it is not clouded by our ego and our emotions. That is what Buddhism teaches us, right? You should use your eyes and not your eyes. Isn't that right? Yeah. These eyes, but not this eye. So we need to remove the ego. It's not easy to do, especially when it is something personal. The other day, as I was browsing through my computer, came upon this story. The story was written by Tomoko Hosaka, an editor and a former reporter in Japan. He says, this is a reflection of some of the people that survived the earthquake and tsunami of March 11, 2011. It was a triple disaster of earthquake, tsunami, and a nuclear crisis in the northern regions of Japan. This one memory that was related told scenes that haunted people even to this very day. The story of an ominous warning, a story of a town that lived. About 2 months after the tsunami, this reporter stumbled upon a coastal village in the disaster zone that should have been obliterated. Its communities to its north and south were. But their town was intact. He came to call on Fudai. The town's name was Fudai in northern Japan, the town that lived, he called it. And it owed its survival to a former 10-term mayor whose memories of a 1933 tsunami fueled a lifelong obsession to protect his town from the sea. In 1967, Fudai erected a 15.5-meter high seawall to shield the neighborhood behind its fishing village, I guess it is, fishing village. And the mayor insisted on an equally tall floodgate for a nearby cove where most of the homes were. He faced tremendous opposition and ridicule, but he never relented. So when the 2011 tsunami struck 14 years after he died, the walls and floodgates, the tallest such barriers in the region, kept the town virtually untouched. The only person lost had been out in his boat. So when the reporter visited Fudai, villagers grateful to Wamura told him that he was ultimately teaching them a larger lesson, the importance of conviction and never giving up on what you know is right. What a wonderful story about the application of the 6 parameters and how our lives can be impacted. In this morning's Dharma message, it is about the ego and how it can get in the way of daily living. Here's another story for you. It's a parable called A Black Mouse and the White Mouse. This is taken from a Buddhist sutra. There was once a traveler walking in the wilderness. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, he saw a huge elephant charging toward him. Out of fear for his life, he ran for cover, but there was no place for him to hide. Desperate, he spotted a deep, dry well, so he jumped in and held on to some hanging vines. As he descended into the well, he was dismayed to see 4 large snakes slithering and hissing at the bottom. Afraid to let go, he hung on tightly to the vines. But then, looking up, he noticed a black mouse and a white mouse gnawing at the vines. Meanwhile, at this critical moment, 5 honeybees flew over the well and dropped 5 drops of honey right into the mouth of the traveler. Ecstatic while savoring the blissful sweetness of the honey, the traveler finds all thoughts of danger have melted away. So what's the meaning of this story? The wilderness is this world in which the traveler is walking, while the elephant represents the impermanence of time that is always chasing us. We always panic when we happen to see sudden and unexpected events. The 4 snakes at the bottom of the well are the 4 elements of our bodies: earth, water, fire, and wind. These 4 elements depend on the lifeline of the vine, which helps sustain us for the time being. The black mouse and the white mouse, which are slowly but steadily gnawing away at the vines, are night and day. And the vines themselves represent our lives. The 5 drops of honey from the bees are the 5 desires of wealth, beauty, fame, food, and sleep. Upon tasting the sweetness of the honey, the traveler forgets all about the imminent dangers. This story really shows that human beings do not look at themselves truly, and that we are only looking at things right in front of us. A teacher taught that on the path on which Jodo Shinshu Buddhists walk is to have glasses to see each other as Buddhas, not as devils. A person who sees others as a devil is he himself a devil. We cannot always see each other's good points, even within our own families. When we see people that we dislike, our devil mind appears, and we don't regard them as human beings. At the same time, we become the devil. On the other hand, we can somehow get the glasses of the Buddha's eye. We will be able to see others as a Buddha who's going to be a teacher for us. We can then begin to live as human beings in the real world, enjoying this one life that we have in deep fulfillment and happiness. At this time, I want to read you this piece. It's called The Worst Day Ever. Please look at the screen and follow along. Today was the worst day ever. And don't try to convince me that there's something good in every day. Because when you take a closer look, this world is a pretty evil place. Even if some goodness does shine through once in a while, satisfaction and happiness don't last. And it's not true that it's all in the mind and heart, because true happiness can be attained only if one's surroundings are good. It's not true that good exists. I'm sure you can agree that the reality creates my attitude. It's all beyond my control. And you'll never in a million years hear me say that today was a good day. So, now, you're probably thinking, what is this guy talking about? He shouldn't be up here in a podium. It's the most depressing thing that I've ever heard and read. Why would I do this to such a good group of people? So let's read it again. This time, from the ending to the beginning. Today was a good day, and you'll never in a million years hear me say it's beyond my control. My attitudes creates the reality. I'm sure you can agree that it's not true that good exists only if one's surroundings are good. True happiness can be attained because it's all in the mind and heart. And it's not true that satisfaction and happiness don't last. Some goodness does shine through once in a while, even if this world is a pretty evil place. Because when you take a closer look, there's some good in every day. And don't try to convince me that today was the absolute worst day ever. The way in which you view something has the potential to change the entire meaning if you look at it in a different way. And that is what Buddhism teaches us. It teaches us to be sure that we are seeing the world as it truly is, and not just through our ego-centered view or the I. So in times of conflict, especially I have to remember this and take a step back and realize that there may be some merit in the viewpoint of others that we have not considered. And to generally look at those viewpoints without our ego to see if they have a point. We don't always have to agree, but at least control our ego enough to leave room for the possibility of another valid perspective. So it's always realizing that your way may not always be the only way. And if you're really, truly honest with yourself, will open up the possibility that our way may not be the best choice after all. So, thank you very much for listening, and let's put our hands together once again as I read these words. Many times we do not have the choice in our lives and may not be able to avoid suffering, but we can choose. What we can choose is how we view our life and to see the world as it truly is. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Bert. Please stand. And for the Gatha that we'll be singing is on page 119 in our brown book. And then please continue standing for the Nembutsu.
We
boundless and supreme light of wisdom shine within our hearts and minds and guide us all to walk the Buddha's path of awakening for the sake of all beings. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Please be seated. I'd like to call on Cynthia Rodriguez for our announcement. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Again, Prudence is not here, so I'm doing the announcements. Okay. So we'd like to welcome a few guests this morning, and if you could stand when I call your names, please. Okay, we have Evangeline and Hideko Yagi. Welcome. Thank you. And Barbara Ueda. Thank you very much. Welcome. So I would like to thank all the volunteers that helped with today's service. Without your support, our service would not have run as smoothly as it did. Thank you very much. Next Sunday is our remembrance service. Upon check-in that morning, please provide the name and a photo, which is optional, of the person and/or pet who has passed away during the month of November of any year that you would like to remember. So a few reminders. Today is the last day to order your bento lunch for our upcoming luncheon on December 11th. I will be submitting the order on Tuesday, so please sign up today if you haven't already. Roy, any report on the Bodhi tree project?
We're almost there. I have 3 tags hanging on the tree right now that needs to be spoken for. So if you haven't visited the Bodhi tree, it's a Bodhi tree. Please do that. And if you can, make a child or a kapuna happier holiday seasons this year. And for those that have already turned in their gifts and tags, thank you very much. A reminder for those that have it, next Sunday is the last day to turn in the gifts and the tags, because we'll be taking it to Salvation Army the Monday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy. So please visit our country market pop-up table, which is set up next door. And there may be a couple of items that some of you may be interested in, so for the holidays anyway. So thank you in advance for supporting our small fundraising project. So are there any other announcements? Okay, if not, in closing, we would like to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. And together with that, let us recite the words of thanksgiving, which can be found in your red Jodo Shinshu service book on page 126. We are truly grateful for this wonderful food, a gift of life. May we share its benefits with all beings. As we partake of this food, let us remember Amida Buddha's compassion, which surrounds all people and all forms of life. Namo Amida Butsu. Itadakimasu. Thank you very much.